here we go. We're back at it again. Doing some more on this comic. Alright, that, should we do that for, come on. This. Man, gotta pick the color I want for this. Anyways, hello. It feels so small though. I don't know why. Oh, then it blends into the background if I do that, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. Anyways, hello, folks who are stopping by. Thank you for coming. I hope your weekend's going well. And if you're here, say something in the chat. Be like, hey, hello, I am here. We're going to be working some more on this Eldritchrune comic, which I really want to finish. It's the longest one yet, so it's been taking a while. And there's so many other possibilities to do afterwards, too. But we're getting close to finishing it. Just got to get like the shading done and a few effects and other things. Now we'll be ready. If not, maybe by midweek or weekend or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully computer cooperates with us the whole time. I hope you all are doing well. I just realized I had the panels turned off so that I could see what I was doing with other stuff. It's all cold and wet around here. But that's appropriate for November, so it's okay. It's about time it got cold and wet, honestly. Yeah, I really would like to get through as much as this as we can today, but it's like 17 and a half pages, so it might take a while. We'll make the progress we can. So I realize music's a little bit too quiet, so I might turn it up a bit. There we go. Just a little bit louder. But if it's too loud, let me know and I'll turn it down again. But I'd like to be able to hear some things. And I'll be taking my usual stretch breaks and breaks for snacks and all that goodness. And of course, there's also the ad breaks. I can't hit the right button breaks. It's always a possibility. Also, I know Ross is creepy and has no eyes yet, but that's because we're going to add eyes eventually. Right now we're working on shading stuff for Chris. And the crickets will probably start up and be noisy as we go. They're like, oh, you're streaming? Time to make some cricket noise. That's why we exist, is to make cricket noise at each other. Chirpy, chirpy, chirp. Be like your background ambience on this November Sunday afternoon, which is a mood. Hopefully not Chris's mood here, because right now their mood is bad. Just bad. Oop, that. I'm always missing something up there. Something's missing. think it was definitely slightly less time to, when I was shading Paper Trail, to not do all the shading kind of stuff like this. But at the same time, it's a much longer comic than this is probably going to be. Well, maybe. We'll see, I guess. Who even knows? I'm not sure how many parts this is going to be. As many as I feel like. Many as it's fun to do. I feel like I need to change the nib on my pen again. It sounds like scratchy, which I don't like. I feel like I didn't used to have to change my pen nibs that much. Now I gotta do it all the time, it feels like. I don't know. Maybe it's the tablet itself. Maybe they changed like what the screen stuff is made out of, so it wears down the nibs faster. Something like that. And we will go back and do eyes later. Right now we're just working on shading. Yeah, hope you all are doing well. I'm doing as well as I can. We at least got the shading done on Rouse, so we just gotta do it on Chris. Thankfully, at least, they're the only two characters in this series. And it's mostly dialogue. And I did post this thing in my Discord, right? Okay, no. Folks are just busy. It'd just be like that. There we go. Okay. I'm also gonna save early, save often on this. Goodness knows I might need to. It never hurts. Chris is like, what the hell? Why are you big, smoky, fluffy, fiery Shadow Doom? Because why not? Yeah, I really do want to finish this part this week. So I'm going to do my best to do that. And get it up at some point this week. Whenever that may be. Shadows under Chris as well. Keep forgetting that. That'll be after this stuff. Don't do too much of this. Inside of the mouth as well. gotta figure out which characters I want to do character sheets for next, because I kind of caught up with the ones that I posted already. I figure I can do Sean. Seems like a good bet, but I'm trying to think of what other ones to do aside from Sean. I gotta do a bunch of stuff in order, but it's just a matter of what order I want to do stuff in. And I know I need to eventually draw all the rest of the humans in the hometown. People have been asking, what does Sans look like? Everybody else. So it might be a good idea to tackle those. And then there's also, like, you know, various minor characters and minions. I'm not sure if I don't think I want to do like page for every minion, because that would take forever. That would be exhausting. Also, what the heck parts am I shading here? I don't know. Something. Go the crickets. I do think whichever part I do after this one, if I'm going in order of what one on the poll, probably be a scene with Sean. Hello, thank you for coming. It's been so quiet in the stream. Spoopy buildings? Yay, spoopy buildings. For a moment I thought you said Snoopy buildings. I'm like, what's a Snoopy building? Is it a building with Snoopy in it? Because that sounds like a good building. Okay. A spoopy Snoopy. I'm trying to open these one page at a time so it's not overloaded with too many pages at once. Also, I'm just two followers away from 300. Which would be very cool. Nice round number. I need to do more with like channel points and all that stuff. Maybe I'll sit down and finally figure that out over Christmas break or something. Snoopy Polymorph Skyscraper. That sounds like a toy from the 70s. Like a Transformers that's like either a Snoopy or a large building. It makes no sense. You're like, who the heck licensed this? And why? And you don't like even know it exists until you're just like over at like your grandparents' house or something, and they're like, oh, let's go through this closet, and you just stumble across this toy of Snoopy that transforms into a skyscraper, and you're like, what the heck is this? And literally nobody knows where it is, what it is, or how it got there. I don't know how universal that experience is. It's like weird toys your grandparents have and have kept for reasons you can't begin to fathom, because it's not like they have kids anymore. I guess they're like, oh, maybe the grandkids will like this. The grandkids do not like it because they don't know what it is, so they still just kind of hold on to it. Who licensed this? Especially with something like Peanuts characters. The Charles Schultz estate is very picky about licensing, to my understanding. Or at least depiction of the characters. Which is understandable. But who knows? There's probably gotta be like some kind of like sliding scale in terms of like you know, licensing in terms of like, we don't care, whatever, just give us money to use it, and we will not license this to you because unless you do like all of our riddles 3 and follow our commands exactly, or we will destroy you. Like, who is on the licensing scale for that kind of thing? not get this line in the exact right place, our copyright lawyers will hunt you down. And your family. Okie dokie dokie. It's there anyway. I wonder what stuff is entering the public domain next year. It's some big stuff, isn't it? Oh shoot, forgot. It's all one layer. Feels like there's something big. I must remember what. Okay. I'm gonna blaze through as many pages as we can with Chris today. It'd be cool if we could get all the shading done for Chris, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to do that or not. It depends on how quick I am and how some pages treat me. At least Ralsei's about done, except for his eyes. I don't think that they actually own Peanuts, no. Charles Schultz owns... The Charles Schultz estate still owns Peanuts. So, no, Knott's Berry Farm does not own Peanuts. But what they probably own is the right to use Peanuts characters in a theme park environment. Well, sheesh, that kind of sucks, because that reduces competition in the theme park environment in California. And also, hello, thank you for coming. We are still working on this Eldritchrune comic. I really want to get this done this week, so we can post these 3 parts in succession. Yeah, no, Charles Schultz Estate still owns Peanuts, like the brand. But, it's possible that if Six Flags owns Knott's, then they own the ability to use Peanuts characters in a theme park environment, which is different from just Peanuts itself. Okay. I'm gonna do all this flashback stuff with Chris during their breakdown. Anyways, I hope you're doing well. You're making progress on this comic. I keep feeling like there was like something else I had to do today, and I can't remember what it was. Maybe pay my bills, but is there anything else? I can't remember. Thank you. I'm glad you think it's looking good so far. We're getting closer. We're on the shading stage. That's good. Yeah, we gotta do the rest of the shading on Chris here. We gotta do basically eyes, because those are a separate color for Chris and Ralsei. And we gotta do a little bit more with the dialogue, which is on hidden layers right now, and we gotta do special effects like smoke, flames, magic, special visual. I suddenly forgot the word for it. Basically, like text effects like bonk and ow and whoosh and stuff like that. Sound effects. I gotta do that. But then we'll be done. Yeah, I was trying to figure out which characters to work on next for color versions too. And there's some various other small doodles I should try and get to. So much to draw in so little time, especially since I'm back to full-time work and I'm busy working on the roughs for this episode, which are going pretty well, but this week's going to be a lot of working on some fight scenes, so those are always pretty time-consuming. At least in terms of like what you gotta do for a script. It's when you're working from a script, Like, you know, dialogue, easiest thing to do. Fight scenes, much more time consuming. The most time consuming stuff, musical numbers. Songs always took the longest. For song reasons. Is that everything? I know Chris isn't blending into the background too much on these. Songs take time, and so do fights. Wonder how long it takes to write a fight scene as opposed to draw a fight scene, because good grief takes a long time to draw a fight scene. It takes its sweet, sweet time. Oh, yeah. I imagine so. I at least appreciate it if I have a script that has a fight scene, if like all of the beats of the fight are actually written out. So then I'm like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be drawing, and also this takes up room in the script, as opposed to just like, and then cool action scene here, and it's like, okay, this is a line of script that's going to take me 4 days to do. Yeah. Gotta kind of plan it out. Definitely something that works best in a visual medium of some sort. But it's very tricky. It's like coordination. And they fight each other with swords. No, the worst one would be, and then there was a big battle on horseback. And they were all playing musical instruments in a school. Ah! Oh, that's so funny. Hey, if it works, it works. Like, I gotta act this out so I know what the heck's happening. Yeah, well, the thing with the Ruby scripts is that they look like that because they would be like, oh, Monty is gonna, you know, do the fight scene, because that's his thing. He would just do these incredible fight scenes kind of on his own. So you could trust that, you know, you can just basically tell him, cool action scene here. And he would do a very cool action scene, even if it didn't really jive with the rest of the script. It looked really cool. So I wonder if they had to change that when he died, because it's like, okay, you know, we got some good animators, but they weren't animating like Monty was. Yeah, they just didn't quite mesh with the script. They looked really cool, but they were not exactly like... They felt like... The thing with Monty's fight scenes is that they're very... Like, you don't really need context for them. They are very much like, holy crap, this is awesome, look at them fighting. But in a larger series, you actually kind of need the context in order to, you know, make it make sense. So, I think that's part of why Ruby struggled a little bit in that area. Yeah, Ruby's got the cool action scenes, at least especially in the, you know, first 2 seasons with Monty. I do have friends that watch Ruby for the plot, though, so, and they are not liars, so some people do like the plot. I think I saw like the first 2 seasons myself, and I fell off of it then. I was mostly watching it but I did enjoy what I watched. I think I actually did some Ruby fan art back in the day. A long time ago. Yeah, as with most Monty-owned things, you are there for the amazing fight scenes. It super sucks that he died so soon, because it's clear that like he could have made so much more cool art. Like, it's really hard to turn a fight scene into art, and yet he still did that. Yeah, like, it's got some cool world building, although it probably needs some tightening up in some places, but yeah, like, as a story, it's like, oof, this is, struggling. Yeah, it was a lot of ideas that, like, okay, this sounds cool, this sounds cool, this sounds cool. We're gonna throw in everything, and it doesn't necessarily all mesh. So I think they could have gotten rid of, like, a few ideas. Like, honestly, just, like, mostly focused on, you know, the kids at, you know, anime warrior school versus the big grim monsters. Because, okay, now you're not getting into this kind of clumsy political stuff, or attempts at political plots, and you can just focus on the cool, badass fight scenes fighting these monsters. And sometimes that's all you need for a series to be successful or interesting. Yeah, exactly. I watched the H-Bomber Guy video in addition to that. I'm excited. New H-Bomber Guy and Defunctland coming, like, soon. I'm like, Bess, please. Give me your 2-hour-long essays on weird things. I usually listen to them while I work. The problem is right now I've been working on roughs, and it's hard to listen to people talk when I'm working on roughs. So I'm like, no, I don't want to put off listening to these. I want to listen to them. Tommy Tallarico, his mother is very proud. Yeah. Monty was just exceptionally good at what he did. Like, even, like, long before Ruby came out, I was at, like, this animation school in California. We were going over 3D animation. This was, like, 2007, something like that. And I had I was putzing around the computer lab rendering stuff. And these guys are like, oh, you gotta come watch this is so cool. And they showed me, like, Dead Fantasy 2. And I was like, whoa! And we're just blown away by Dead Fantasy 2. At the time, it was extremely cool. Oh yeah, I watched a lot of Red vs. Blue because I have a friend who is super duper into Red vs. Blue. Like, still keeps up with it, even in season, like, I don't know, 19 now, whatever it is. And yeah, I have been watching Bobby Broccoli. I'm excited because I need to watch the second half of the Nortel one. I saw the first half. A fascinating way to make physics history interesting. But I'm curious, especially because I'm like, wait, I live in Canada. This company screwed up Canada? I'm interested. So yeah, I gotta watch that's on my to-watch list. I gotta watch the second half of the Nortel one. I gotta see the new Sarah Zed video on Buffy, which looks interesting. That's why I don't really have TV cable anymore. I'll probably get, like, Nebula at some point, because I'm just like, I'm sorry, mostly what I've put on is, like, video essays. That's the fun stuff for me to watch. I think it might be an animator thing, because, like, you know, a new Defunctland or H-Bomber Guy or all this other stuff comes out, and I swear, like, half of the animation industry in Canada has had it on while they're working. They're like, oh yeah, you see that new video? Yeah. It's very good. Like, there's something about video essays that just makes them really pleasing to work to, especially work like art and stuff like that, where you're just kind of, you know, doing a visual busy work kind of thing you would do for animation. And you want to just kind of, like, listen to something you can glance over and see the visuals on every once in a while, but you don't have to, like, you know, pay close attention to, like, an actual movie or something like that. So it's very ideal and very interesting for that kind of stuff. So a lot of animators watch video essays, and I am one of them. Yeah, that's true. I can understand that too. I do have, like, a playlist of video essays that I have on, like, while I'm doing chores and stuff like that, because it's nice, you know, talking in my brain while I'm doing this busy work. But, like, the first time I watch it, you know, I'm not going to be doing chores or whatever. I want to be able to watch some of it. Well, composing shots is what you do in the storyboards. Industry artists swapping video essays. I think a lot of this, you know, kind of fall into the same circles of, you know, people we watch, like, you know, oh, new, you know, Super Eye Patch Wolf, new, Folding Ideas. I was very excited about, you know, new one of those when that came out. You know, it used to be Lindsay Ellis, but now she's just on Nebula, which is why I should do that. Oh, a new Philosophy Tube. Yeah, all that goodness. Pulls out the Victorious essay. Yeah. Exactly. Are you ready for Billiam's long retrospective on Lost? Well, ideally, you know, not all artists are like that, but I just say from my personal experience working in animation, that's a lot of what people listen to. That and, you know, podcasts. I don't know if I got the 4-hour analysis of Twilight. I can add it to my to-watch list, which grows all the time. Oh yeah, her Vampire Diaries one is really good. I'm in my video essay playlist while I do chores. I'm on her videos right now, and working on the Church Play Cinematic Universe, which is very funny. I like that one. And I think also, you know, we gotta do the Evermore video, which keeps getting drama added to it. Like, now she's part of the Evermore drama. Which, good grief. She's very funny. Like, I've shown my parents some of her videos, and they laughed when normally they would not care about that kind of stuff. So, the fact that she made my parents laugh is a testament to her being very funny. And it's interesting seeing the Evermore drama go on. Yeah, because she did that long video on Evermore with her experience there, and like people involved with the thing watched it, and like some, you know, agreed with her critiques of the park, and some were really defensive of it. Well, she is now. She wasn't when she first reported on it, but now just the fact that she did have this big, you know, expose on it, got a lot of people invested in Evermore who might not have otherwise, and got more critiques of Evermore. So basically, Evermore is a theme park in Utah that is kind of like, it's like, it was started by like this billionaire who, you know, basically kind of, this is his big pet project. He really wants to do a theme park, you know, a Utah rival to Disneyland kind of thing. And the hook for Evermore is that, like, there's kind of this ongoing story with it. There's live actors that you're interacting with. It's kind of like a theme park and a LARP at the same time. You know, there's a lot of, you know, character drama and all this other stuff, and stuff like that, which sounds cool on the surface. And then when you stop and think about it a little bit, you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of ways this can go wrong. And there were a lot of ways it went wrong. And the theme park is struggling now for a number of reasons. Most of the management tied theme park. But, yeah. So the park is struggling. And it sucks because, like, you do want to see different kinds of things. And, a theme park that's kind of built around a LARPing theme sounds like it could be really cool. And a lot of people probably did think it sounds like it would be really cool. But, there's safety concerns, for example, with the actors, because, like, the thing with a theme park is that you do have to think about the safety of the character actors there. And in some place like Disneyland, they take that very seriously. Like, you are not, like, basically people can't even be out in the suits for, like, more than half an hour. But, like, with Evermore, like, yeah, they didn't have elaborate costumes, they didn't have elaborate suits or anything, but they have, you know, these storylines going around where, like, you know, really, you know, scary or dark stuff happen, characters die sometimes, and so characters have to react really emotionally to it in ways that might be, you know, kind of awkward at a theme park, especially if you've never been there before and you aren't following the story with these characters. It's like, well, why is this person, you know, breaking out into tears in the middle of the park? What's going on, kind of thing. So you basically have to be following these characters very carefully in order to even know what's going on. And then there's also the actor's safety, because what happens, you know, with any kind of fandom, people get super duper attached to these characters. That's just kind of a thing that happens. And then they kind of forget about the separation between the character and the actor, and start putting the actor in danger because of their thoughts towards the character. And that's not good. And they need to, you know, protect the actors in that sense. And also the guests, so that, you know, they're not subject to this kind of stuff either. Mom Minnie's in despair. Yeah, like I watched Jenny's video recently on her Patreon, and some of the stuff that, like, some of the staff mentioned was, like, people following them outside of the park to, like, their cars and their homes, which is friggin' terrifying. Like, if I was an actor, holy crap, that would scare the bejesus out of me. That's not okay. So they need to, like, take steps to protect the actors in that case, and I don't know if they're doing enough for that, basically. So it's a whole mess. Like, yeah. If you're an actor in a park like that, you should be able to take off the costume at the end of the day and head home safely and not have to, you know, be thinking about that. But the fact that people are approaching them outside of work for that kind of stuff, really not good. Not safe. So I think if you're going to do, like, a live interaction park, you would have to have kind of a lot more strict set of rules about what people can and can't do with the actors. And two, probably, like, ways for, you know, if you haven't been following the story of the characters at all, and you're just, like, a family coming in for this vacation and want to see what this park is about, then, like, there's options for you to feel like you can participate without knowing that much about the story, which is a really hard thing to pull off, but, like, is doable. Like, I think one thing that she mentioned in the video was, like, another example was Meow Wow's, you know, Omega Mart, which is basically a big interactive art exhibit, which I really wanted to go to. I almost did. I was in Vegas, but nobody could go with me, so I missed it. But yeah, Omega Mart's probably an example of, like, okay, this is, you know, pretending it's real life, interactive, you know, not exactly a theme park, but interactive attraction for people. But you don't need to know all this underlying story. You can just go to Omega Mart and experience the attraction on your own. And that's pretty cool. Yeah, it might help a bit if you had multiple actors for, like, one role. I mean, they should see the example of, like, yeah, like, remember on Tumblr a while back when people were really into, like, certain actors who played Peter Pan at Disneyland, and there was, like, fandoms around that. Same thing with, like, you know, the actors that were doing the Wonderland stuff like that. Like, I remember there were fandoms around those characters and those character actors at Disneyland, and it kind of crossed the line a bit in terms of, like, are you fanning over the character or the actor? Like, the lines were a little fuzzy on that. And yeah, Chris is having a breakdown. This is breakdown Chris time. Sorry, Chris. Oh yeah, Peter Pan had a Tumblr fandom. Not Peter Pan necessarily like the Disney movie, but basically the Peter Pan character at the parks. Like, you know. Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to. It's just a job. They're just trying to pay rent. But there was a big fandom around. I don't remember if it was like one particular actor or a handful of particular actors who were playing Peter Pan at like Disneyland, Disney World. I think mostly Disneyland. It was Disneyland theater fans. And again, that also extended to like, because for a while at Disneyland they were doing like these kind of, you know, after dark shows. Yeah, it's very much cult of personality stuff. They were doing like these after hour shows in California Adventure. For a while they had a Tron one that was really cool. I went to that a couple of times. And then they also had a Mad Tea Party one. And it was basically kind of like if the characters from Alice in Wonderland were like in this grunge rock band and, you know, stuff that's kind of intended for an older audience, but it's all, you know, creepy Alice in Wonderland themed. And that thing basically got a bandum. Like any other regular band. Where, again, the lines were a little blurry between the characters and the band members. In all the ways that entails. Also, I'm stopping to do my stretch real quick. And I will be right back for one more stretch. Selfies. Hiding away. I'm coming back. Alright, drink my water. I've been talking. Oh, man, now I miss that those Tron party things. We did go to it a couple times back when I lived in California. And they had like Flynn's Arcade there. You could go in and play Space Paranoids if you wanted. All these cool glowy drinks, and there was a lot of, you know, glowy light up stuff playing that. I suddenly forgot the name of the band. Daft Punk. They were playing all, you know, Daft Punk songs and all that stuff like that. It was cool. But that was done mostly to promote, because Tron Legacy was coming out, so it was to promote that. Not anymore. This was a long time ago. Again, this was like, I don't know, 2007 or something, to promote the new Tron movie that was coming out at the time. This was at Disneyland, by the way. Basically, Disneyland would do these themed parties. And for a while, they did one that was Tron themed again because they were promoting the movie. And then after that was the Alice in Wonderland. I think it was just called Mad Tea Party. I think that was the band. And that got super popular and basically got its own fandom. Got its own bandom. So they stuck with Mad Tea Party for quite a while. Just because it did get very popular. Not popular with Chris, though. Chris is not having a good time. I was 1 to 2 years old in 2007. Ah! I was out of college. Ah! Oh boy. Time keeps on slipping into the future indeed. Into the future. You're killing me. You're killing me with my bad back. I'm old. I'm old. That's why I appreciate the grandma Facebook memes. I'm like, ah, yes. I am become grandma. Share Facebook memes. Yeah, I missed. I wonder if they're still doing those kind of parties at California Adventure. I don't know if they are. They might have stopped after the pandemic or something like that. You know, some kind of excuse to be like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. That costs money. That's fair. I'm alive. I was just out of college in 2007. Not long after, but just out of. And then I never will. What is human being? A miserable pile of secrets now. More degrees! More! Collect them all! Sometimes you're like, I gotta do more school! I did do more school after I got my bachelor's, but it wasn't really so much a traditional degree. I was kind of more technical school kind of stuff. That was like a 1.5-year program. And I was like, oh, I'm going to learn professional stuff and go into animation. And then right after that was 2008, and the economy collapsed, and there were no jobs. And so that didn't work out for me for quite a while. Yeah, it's really stupid how much you have to, like, put in terms of, like, well, I need more than a BA now. Yeah, it's the expensive part that's the hard part. If nothing else, I am super fortunate in terms of, like, student loans. My student loans are paid off. I don't have to worry about them. Goodbye, student loans. What's that? Oh, what's that? Huh. That's weird. Oh, yeah, you're super lucky. Student loans are horrible and the worst. So if you can avoid doing that, then yeah, definitely do more school. They're stupid. Thanks, Reagan. Yeah, I just kind of lucked out on that front. Partially because of nepotism. Thanks, Dad. And partially because, like, I had a little bit of help paying for some schooling stuff afterwards, so I did have some loans I had to repay, but they were not nearly as much as some of my other friends had. So, I paid them off a few years ago. No more loans. If I ever do try and buy, don't even want to say a house because I can't afford a house, but an apartment property, I guess. Be back to paying some loans, but oh well. For the time being, at least, no loans for me, except for, you know, basic credit card, and that's not a problem because I just budget that. Chris is full of problems, though. It is problems time for Chris. Day of problems. Yeah, the art schools nowadays are just ridiculous in terms of loans. And you have to, like, just be careful and make sure you don't go to just, like, a really predatory school. Like, there used to be Art Institute, and a lot of people would go to that, and that was just, like, steal your money kind of school. But I think they closed down, so I don't think you have to worry about that anymore. Well, loans are, like, you know, a debt. Just a kind of debt. Art Institute was a chain, so there was a lot of different schools that fell under the Art Institute umbrella. Again, I don't think it exists anymore, so I don't think you have to worry about it. I think they went under. But there were a lot of different schools that had Art Institute as part of the name, because it was a chain. Yeah, exactly. It's like if it's cheaper to go to like an overseas school and just live there, that's a bad sign. Again, I got super lucky because my undergrad school I went to, my dad is literally a professor there, so didn't have to pay tuition. And I also didn't pay for room and board because my parents live on campus, so I just lived, you know, in my own house Or actually, no, for a while I didn't live there the whole time. I did live with some roommates, but we lived off campus, and there was like so many of us crammed into this little house that my rent was like $200, which is never going to happen again in my life. But basically, there was a number of things that, well, I had to repay some loans. They were not nearly as bad as they could have been. I think it was like $20,000 total. Something like that. No, it was maybe more like $40,000. I'm sure it was more once we had interest. But it was not 6 figures, basically. Which, I have friends who have had that. And a house probably would be something like 6 figures, easily. Okay, Chris is having a breakdown about this kind of stuff. Like Rouse housing is so expensive. Not necessarily. You don't know. Circumstances may turn out differently. Alright, opening next one. I think I'm going to try and reuse a bunch of stuff here. Because Chris is kind of in the same position for a lot of this. At least now we're on part 2. Yeah, this is all to say that student loan debt is stupid and evil, and I think it should go away forever. Please cancel it already. Yeah, it's super unfair. Again, it didn't used to be this way. Thanks, Reagan. There's no reason, like, I mean, there is a reason for it. The reason for it is somebody profits off of it. But in terms of, like, necessity, no, there's no reason for it. But usually if something is like, why does this exist, it's because somebody profits off of it. Which, as we all know, is the most important thing of all. What'd Reagan do? I hear everyone doesn't like him. What didn't he do? Name a thing that is bothering you right now in life, and I can guarantee that, like, it traces back to some way that Reagan has made your life worse. Student loans, his fault. Lack of, solar power energy, that was his fault. AIDS crisis, his fault. Iran-Contra, his fault. So, lots of things are his fault. Yeah, the whole taxing the rich thing, like changing the tax rate stuff, his fault. Yeah. Well, healthcare, he didn't help with that kind of stuff, but that was compounded by other things, and, other presidents haven't fixed it since, but yeah, I'm sure that was probably, he contributed to that too. I think, alright, ads. Yeah, that definitely contributed to it. Again, some of this stuff spans multiple presidencies, but, get over here. But, like, the whole thing with the AIDS crisis was pretty much the government response to AIDS was like, well, it's happening to gay people, so, okay, oh well. Sounds good to us. That takes care of our gay problem. They only started to, like, pay attention to it when, one became clear that, AIDS is not just your gay disease. It affects anybody. And 2, one of Ronald Reagan's close friends actually became HIV positive. So it became a thing of like, oh, well, it affects me now because this is somebody I know, sort of thing. But yeah, the thing with Reagan that made it stick out for me was this was not a fuck up. He was doing this on purpose. Like, that's the thing I think people need to remember. That this was not, oops, I did an oopsie whoopsie. This was, I'm doing this on purpose because people benefit from it. Mostly very rich people benefit from it. But, like, basically, this stood out to me. We get a wookie wookie. A few years ago, I kind of helped with this opera. I did some art for an opera that was not like a big opera, but it was like kind of a, you know, smaller scale opera. They were basically trying to do a an anime version of the Magic Flute. So I did a bunch of like comic panels to like for the prologue and some backdrops and stuff like that, and it was pretty fun. And so they're like, oh, they invited me to come up and see the opera, and it was in San Francisco, or like a San Francisco suburb or something like that. So I drove up myself, and you know that's kind of a long way from LA. So they're like, okay, you can stay with, you know, one of the guys who helped basically finance or work on the opera. So, you know, I stayed at this guy's house, you know, just as a guest for one night while I was there for the opera. And he was big in solar. Like, that was his field, was doing stuff for solar power. And so, like, you know, I was there overnight, and then for breakfast the next morning, I'm just kind of chatting with him about, you know, his work and stuff like that. And I was like, hey, so why hasn't the U.S. like, you know, adopted more stuff with solar yet? Why is this taking so long? You know, when are we going to get more solar stuff? And he basically said, well, I can answer that for you in one word: Reagan. And basically mentioned how, like, the president before Reagan, Jimmy Carter, had solar panels up on the White House for his presidency. Like, they had solar power back in the 70s. This was not, like, it was pretty new technology, but it was known how it worked and all that stuff. And pretty much Reagan's first day, he took down those solar panels. So we had basically stuff. Uh-oh. Did my thing? Yep, I gotta reload that. Well, again, the thing is like, it's less about, you know, the science stuff, and it's more about people are going to be making a lot of money off of, you know, oil and stuff like that. And if we have solar power, then people that make their money off of oil are not going to like that. So that was not promoted, was not put forward, because it sends a message about this is what our priorities are. Our priorities are not going to be, you know, renewable power. They're going to be serving the interests of these wealthy people that make their money off of oil. Chris is mad about it. Yeah, it's about where the funding goes. So just that conversation stuck out in my mind, because it was very clear this guy was had first-hand experience with this madness, and was still mad about it, and I don't blame him. Chris would never take solar panels off the White House. You don't even have a White House here. Mayor Holliday took the solar panels off the mayor's house. No, how could you? No! But it's okay, because I don't think Mayor Holliday's making it out of this story alive. Sorry, Mayor Holliday. Poor Noel, no solar. Yeah, like, I'm gonna steal this from my own house. I gotta shade the other stuff over there. I am just, copy-pasting this a bunch, because why not save myself the trouble? Yeah, is that all the way over? There we go. Mine now. Oh, Chris, seems like just yesterday you were up on our house stealing the solar panels. Carol! How could you? I do think her name's going to be Carol, but I also, like, I saw this Clarice mentioned, and I would be okay with Clarice as well, just because of, like, the Rankin Bass deep cut. Yeah, Comet's a decent answer too. Could be Comet. Her being Halloween. Okay, that's actually funny. They call her Callie for short. Okay, we got some other good answers. Yeah, I'm ride or die for Carol. Makes more sense, but there are at least other options where I'm like, okay, if it was that, that would be either good or funny. So I'm down with that. Let's see if I can just copy paste a little bit of this over. Yeah, I do think it's Carol, just because it fits the theming. Again, the only reason why I think it could be Clarice, and why I think it would be funny if it was Clarice, is just because that is in of itself a Rudolph reference. And with her husband being Rudy, that would be funny. How did I do this? Okay, you know what? This is too different. I'm gonna just do this separately. Yeah, Toby doesn't seem to really do much in terms of evil characters. So I don't think she's going to be evil, but I think she's going to make poor choices, and I think she's very much going to be an antagonist, especially for Noelle. Like, I get the feeling that, you know, she got hit hard by Dessa's disappearance, and to that end, you know, obviously took it out on poor Asgore, and also to that end kind of puts all this pressure onto Noelle. It's like, well, you're the last one left. You have to be safe. You have to, you know, do all this other stuff. But even, like, it seems like before that too, like, you know, Noelle talked about, oh, you know, I was looking at the scary thing, you know, I was playing this game and I was scared, but I was afraid to scream because my mom would hear me and come turn it off. Like, oof, that's hard. Mary's Toriel. Oh boy, that would be a twist. Supporting women's wrongs. The disappearance. Wah, wah, wah. It is the disappearance. Now, people are always like, you know, oh, you know, Asgore and Rudy's secret gay relationship. Nobody expects the Carol and Toriel's secret gay relationship. Toriel's homophobic. Nuh-uh. Honestly, like, the best headcanon in terms of that for Toriel that I've heard, because I think from Bisco was, that Toriel's like, oh, lesbianism? Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't practice that anymore. like she's so old that, like, sexuality doesn't really mean the same thing. It's like, oh, I'm not a practicing lesbian anymore. Like, it's, you know. I just think that'd be I think that's good. I think it's very funny. Cariel. Chariel was a hint the whole time. The beloved Chariel is just short for Cariel. If the soul that is currently in Chris isn't theirs, what soul do you think they had? I think they had a regular old human soul. I think it's currently in actually, Ralsei right now. But, yeah, I just think they had their own human soul. Well, honestly, I don't know if there are types. That's something I question. I'm like, okay, yeah, we know that, you know, there's different color souls in Undertale. Do we know that that's the case in Deltarune? We don't, actually. Like, we don't know yet. We have seen all of one human soul, and it's Chris's, which may or may not even belong to them. It can certainly change color depending on, you know, what's going on when it went to yellow during the Phantom fight. There isn't a depression soul. There's usually, like, you know, integrity and courage and stuff like that. Yeah, like, I'm not surprised that people, like, would use that for fanfic and stuff like that, because, yeah, it's totally ingrained from Undertale, but the more I think about it, I'm like, okay, is that the case? Do we have human souls that are different colors in Deltarune as well? I don't know. We don't have examples of it yet. We don't even know what monster souls look like. And I'm kind of the mindset that, like, unlike, you know, in Undertale where, human and monster souls are really different, because human souls are much more powerful, I kind of get the feeling that, like, in Deltarune, there's not really a material difference between them. Like, maybe they kind of culturally make a difference between monster and human souls, but I don't know that we have, like, evidence yet that, oh, monster souls are inherently weaker than human souls. Like, that's not really something that's come up at all. So I kind of, like, am like, you know what, until we hear otherwise, let's assume that they're pretty much on the same level. Maybe monsters have colored souls, I don't know. Trying to scoot this over here so I can reuse this pattern. There we go. Yeah, Chrysis needed to close the fountain because of their soul. But is that because they are human, or is that because the player is playing them? We don't know that it's because they have a human soul. At least in terms of, like, creating a fountain. Queen seems to be like, okay, anybody can do it as long as they... Like, any Lightner can do it. Which would be both humans and monsters. So... that in of itself seems to indicate to me that, like, for one thing, determination is not the same thing between the two games. People are like, oh, determination is your will to live kind of thing. And, I don't know if that's the case with Deltarune. Yeah, there's basically the prophecy is like human, monster, prince from the dark kind of thing. But it does say, but Ralsei does say, okay, Chris, your soul is what's needed to, seal the fountain, basically. Determination is only name dropped in Chapter 2 when Queen basically says, oh, determination, is this not something all Lightners possess? And shows Chris, Susie, Noelle, basically everybody. So that seems to imply that, you know, determination is not the same thing that it is in Undertale. It is a desire to create instead of a will to keep going. Is how I interpret it. Doesn't seem to have anything to do with saving and loading anyway. Next page. Yeah, we never get it in save point flavor text. So the whole thing of, you know, oh, we need determination in order to control the timeline. No indication of that. There's nothing about, you know, like, controlling the timeline anyway. Considering the fact that, you know, you can overwrite timelines willy-nilly in the main menu. And, like, for example, if you know, start a Snowgrave route and then abandon it and go back and, you know, play normally, nobody's going to comment on it. As far as they know, it never happened. Unlike in Undertale, where, like, if you do that kind of stuff, they comment on it because it did happen. So, in terms of theory crafting or whatever, I think people remember that the rules do not necessarily line up with Undertale at all. They might, but I'm inclined to think they don't more often than they do. Yeah. Yeah, there's basically no comments on saving and loading at all. Except for, keep going, you know, you can do that. But Ralsei will comment, basically, if, you know, you do a puzzle without help, or, again, in Snowgrave Route, if he can't see what happens with, you know, Susie and Noelle, he kind of freaks out a bit. So, which pretty much indicates it's less about, oh, you are controlling timelines as it is you're going off script. Yeah, exactly. Like if you go to the save menu, that seems to be handled by Gaster, so. I know some people are like, oh, we don't know if it's Gaster. It probably is. The character in the Garnermaker sequence, almost definitely Gaster. What he's doing there, I don't know, but he's there. I got it. Stop and stretch then. Yeah. We've done this before. Well, the thing with Faninish Gaster is because nobody knows anything about him, there's like a million different ways to interpret him. So how do you know which one is the correct interpretation? He's just Gastering around. Hey, hey, we're the Gasters. People say we Gaster around. We're too busy Gastering. Let anybody get us down. I'm actually currently of the mind that, like, Deltarune Gaster and Undertale Gaster are not the same person. I think maybe Deltarune Gaster might be aware of Undertale Gaster's existence. And it's kind of like, ooh, I can use this to my advantage. But I'm not sure yet that they're even the same Gaster. Yeah, that is a interpretation, but I don't know if it's the only interpretation. People want to know what the Skelebro's family's like. Yeah, Chris is like, no narrative blackout. I think they smooched. Ralsei doesn't know if they smooched or not. Whatever they did certainly made Susie happy. Which is a little weird considering the rest of the route. The weird route, you might say. Alright, I gotta stretch. Stretch. I mean, basically interpretations you see are either like, he's single father to Sans and Papyrus, or else he's able science to Sans and Papyrus. Yeah, I really want to know. Ralsei, what are you doing during the narrative blackouts? Like, people seem to, like, on the one hand, it's like, okay, maybe he's talking to Chris during that time where we, the player, can't see. But on the other hand, it seems like maybe Ralsei is also aware of what we're watching, too, and wants to know what Susie's doing, so that if you don't do that, he's like, I don't know what happened, that's freaking me out. So it's possible that, you know, he is also aware of what Susie and Noelle are doing at the same time the player is. In which case, how is he aware of that? Give us chapters 3 and 4, please. Please, I'm hoping spring next year, but no, maybe it'll be later than that. I don't want to rush Toby. But I'm sure that more than anybody else, he also wants the game to come out. I'm glad he hired a producer. Producers are so important. Don't neglect your production team. They keep things running smoothly. So having somebody who is in charge of, like, coordination and scheduling is actually incredibly helpful for big projects. Yeah, my intention is to play Undertale Yellow once that's out, once I finish Spiritfarer for Friend-Powered Friday Nights. So I'm kind of hoping that that is out by the time I finish Spiritfarer, and be right back for one more stretch. turn. Yeah, I also want to play Delta Traveler, but I wanted to play it when it was done. When it's all finished, that's also on my list to play. It looks good so far. But yeah, basically a producer, their job is scheduling, coordination. They are there to make sure that basically like you have all the resources you need to do your job, that you are doing it on time and on budget. And if there's a problem, trying to coordinate, okay, how do we solve this problem in terms of time, budget, scheduling, resources. So it's actually a very important job. It basically enables it so that you, the artist, are not worrying about that stuff. Like, you're just told, okay, you gotta get this stuff done by this due date, blah, blah, blah. Like, production and producing is actually extremely important for getting, again, big projects done, like a game or a movie or stuff like that. So, I'm glad he got one. I think that's going to actually help quite a bit. But yeah, I do want to play Delta Traveler when it's finished. I don't know when they're going to finish it. Like, I don't know how many chapters they have planned. I think they're out to, like, chapter 3 now, right? I think? I don't remember. Yeah, I do want to check it out. I was just kind of like, with fan games, I was kind of hoping to play them when they were finished or when the creators consider them finished, as opposed to chapter by chapter. Like, I'm not willing to wait for Eldritchrune, but I did want to kind of wait for fan games to be finished so I could do them all at once and get the full experience. Okay, so they're also going to do 7 chapters. Okay. And somebody was asking, like, why do fan games keep getting abandoned and stuff? I'm like, games are hard to make. They're time-consuming. Especially if you're doing a fan game where you're not getting paid to do it. So you kind of have to do it in your off time. Which gets vanishingly small with time. There probably will be a Mac release. I imagine if they're using the same engine as Eldritchrune Undertale, like, that works on Mac just fine. I first played Undertale on a Mac, and that worked fine. Oh, that sucks. That's weird. I thought they would have been using Game Maker. Because if that's the same engine, that's, you know, that works fine on a Mac. That's too bad. I used to have a Mac, but I finally like, okay, I'm going to get a PC. And I did. And it's pretty nice. Because I was getting a little bit tired of Apple shenanigans, although I do still have like an iPhone and all that stuff. But I grew up with a Mac, so that's what I know mostly. 8-section plan. Okay, that's quite a bit. That's quite a lot. Especially for a fan game. I mean, if they'd end up not finishing all the sections, basically if they get to the point where they're like, we're not going to do any more, this is where we're stopping, then I'll play that. Basically, I wanted to wait until it gets to, like, this is the point where the creators consider it done enough. So I can play it all at once. I did play the Undertale Yellow demo, like, a long time ago, and it was good. I liked it. They actually included some characters for it in Dogs of Future Past, because I'm like, oh, these characters are cute. Yeah, it's the workload. It's the part that's like, okay, you have to actually put in all the time to make everything, which is time consuming. Like what I'm doing right now. Easy to write a bunch of stuff down. Hard to actually do all the visual parts. That's the time consuming part. Actually, this part's kind of long. Yeah, I think they said that Yellow would be finished soon, so I really am hoping that's done by the time I finish Spiritfarer, so I can play it after Spiritfarer. And then I'll probably do a big poll on my Tumblr and Twitter about what to play next, because I have a lot of possibilities that I'm equally open to. And that would be fun. Since one of the possibilities was Mario RPG, is that only out on Switch, or is that not on other things? I can't remember because I've never played Mario RPG, and I was kind of like, maybe I should try that. I haven't played that. I would recommend it. It's a very good game. Just as a warning, it's gonna make you cry. Because it already has, and I'm still not at the end yet, and I'm certain the end's gonna make me cry as well. But in terms of like, just as a game, it's fun. It's very pretty. It's got really lovely animation on it. I like the way they do the animation for it, and some very nice music. So if you don't mind a good cry, I would recommend it. Very cute characters. I'm trying to think if I have played a management game before this one, and I'm sure I have at some point, but I can't remember what it was. But yeah, Spiritfarer is basically a management game. So if you like management games, it's a cute one. I find myself remarkably busy for the game. Like, I gotta go do this. I gotta go do that. I gotta do that. Now it's time to cry. We acknowledge the possibility of a broken heart and unending tears, just as we acknowledge the possibility of pain and seizure. And you should be good to go. So yeah, I would recommend it. I've been enjoying it thus far. I listened to one of the songs on repeat because I like the songs. Yes. Also, another recommendation that I played recently, if you haven't played it yet, please play Ghost Trick. Ghost Trick is amazing. And it was redone recently, so it's on a lot of different platforms if you missed it. I played the original when it was out on the DS, and it was really good. So if you haven't played it yet, and you missed my playthrough, please play Ghost Trick. If you don't want to take my word for it, there's like some old tweets way back from Toby Fox where he's like, this is one of the best games I've ever played, amazing job. So it has the Toby Fox endorsement for Ghost Trick. It really was something else. Survey program was a trip. We had no clue what it was. I'm like, what is this? Okay, I'm gonna download it. Here we go. It was very cool though. And there was an attempted spoiler embargo. I don't know how much it worked, but it was very cool. Honestly, the whole deal with Survey Program is kind of... I still contribute as to why I think that, like, Chris willingly summoned the player as, like, a demon summoning thing. Because, like, mostly because, like, Survey Program came out on Halloween. Why Halloween? Why that day? That's a very particular day. Like, people are already going to have a lot of, plans because it's a holiday. People are busy. But there was still the spoiler embargo aspect to it. And I'm like, Halloween's a weird day to pick for, your sudden game drop. It's a good day if you're going to summon a demon, though. Yeah, I was like, alright, sure, this might be a virus. Here I go. Yeah, I don't know. Have I played it on Steam? Yeah, I have played it on Steam, but I've also gotten it on, like, my PS4. Ooh, Rain World. I love the atmosphere of Rain World. I don't think I could ever play Rain World because it looks so brutal. I think I would just explode with the difficulty on Rain World. So I have to appreciate Rain World from a distance and be like, okay, you are a very cool game that will absolutely curb stomp me if I try and play it. Toby Fox wouldn't hurt you, PC? PC's like, nah. Weather's great for demons today. It is. Great demon weather. Chris is like, it's not great demon weather. Get out of here with your demon weather. Your demon croissants. They're more spicy than regular croissants. Spicy demon croissant. I think it was the worst weather for a ritual. Indeedy. A little gloomy. Luigi boards? Do you mean Ouija boards? What's a Luigi board? A board to summon Luigi. Mamma mia. Why have you summoned me? I don't know what Luigi says. My Luigi impression is very poor. What's a Luigi board? I mean, I guess if you could summon Luigi, why wouldn't you? Luigi on a skateboard. Always good. That's Chris's problem. They were trying to summon Luigi and they got a demon instead. Like, gosh darn it. I was supposed to be possessed by Luigi, but now I was possessed by some rando gamer. Can't get much worse than that. Yeah, exactly. Please give us more about Chris, please. Let us know the child. Please. We've summoned the ghosts and now they're like, what? I was on my break. It is 4:55 and you have summoned me here. We are supposed to be closing. Come on. Your demon is trying to go about your day. You're about to clock out and some humans are like, can you get this for us? Are you open? I don't know, maybe if you're murdered in a funny way. I don't know that I much believe in you. Do you have any idea how busy Halloween is? The busiest night of the year. Halloween is basically a Black Friday for demons. Oh, gosh darn it, I have to work overtime because all the teenagers are summoning me for their dumb little ceremonies. Chris, this is why you got gamers instead of actual demons. You tried to do it on Halloween, and they were all busy. Now you just have gamers in your head. What could be worse? With their weird min-maxing and their theorizing and their Twitter threads. 1,000 dead Charlies with their heads in the... Specify which Charlie you mean. Not the gamers. You acknowledge the possibility of really annoying people. You acknowledge the possibility of people with very strong opinions about fictional characters' boobs. Now you have to deal with having to check everybody 3 times to see if their dialogue changes. You acknowledge the possibility of completionists. Yeah, it's curious to see if they have like if they have that knife on them at all times or not, and if they're hiding that, and why. Oh, I didn't have somebody on my ask once. They're like, how could Toriel possibly let Chris have a knife? What about their safety? I'm like, they're a teenager. They're allowed personal objects like knives. It's not like they're 5. Like, if a 16-year-old is carrying around a pocket knife, a lot of people would be like, sure, whatever. They slashed the tires. They did. It's true. And Toriel knows that they carry around a knife because, like, she's like, your knife is in the pie, Chris. A knife, no. Chris, your knife is in the ground and now there's smoke pouring out. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm actually not very fond of knives. Chris can keep their knife. I don't like knives. They're spooky. Also need to sharpen my knives. They're all getting dull. They're gonna explode in my face! Like Beverly talked about. That would be bad. Chris, that is your knife in the carpet, is it not? Chris is like, yeah, I guess so. Oh, that old chestnut Chris hit the gas line. I kind of get the feeling like people are like, oh, it's gonna be this big mystery, you know, Chris caused the dark fountain. For some reason, I have the feeling that, like, Susie and Rousey are gonna find out right away that Chris made that fountain. And they're like, oh, Chris, why'd you do that? Oh, man, okay, I guess we gotta deal with this now. And it's not gonna be as big of a deal as everybody says. And darkness pours out of the ground. I don't really make sandwiches much, and if I did, I would put butter because I hate mayo. Mayo is just so gross to me. Don't like mayo. What's that? I think Rousey would be upset about it, but I think at the same time he would try and, like, justify it because Rousey seems very intent on, like, you know, okay, don't make Chris mad. Whatever Chris decides is okay. I have to be okay. Like, sure, you can hit me, Chris. Sure, I'm sure it made sense why you did this, Chris. So I don't think Rousey would be happy about it, but I do think he would try and, like, justify, like, oh, Chris, you shouldn't have done that, but I'm sure you had your reasons, and you know, it'll be okay, we'll get it fixed, kind of thing. Like, he'll try and make this into, like, something salvageable, rather than, oh no, you did the thing you were not supposed to do. I put PB&J on my sandwiches. I don't really like sandwiches. PB&J is fine with me. But, yeah, so Rousey, I think that's going to definitely put Rousey in a tenuous position of, on the one hand, where he's like, you know, I gotta be happy with whatever Chris does. Whatever Chris does is okay with me, even when it's clearly not okay with me. But also, like, oh, I really didn't want you to make a dark fountain. This is, like, I think that's gonna put a stress on Rousey. That he is going to largely brush off if he can. That's how he does it with Chris. Yeah, but I guess as long as you do talk to Undyne, you have the option to be like, hey, Dark World, you gonna do something about that? And he's like, yeah, whatever. So we'll see if she shows up or not. We'll definitely left the door open for them at least. I can't stand the texture and smell of mayo. I don't like it as, like, just a white, saucy substance. Like, I hate that. Same reason, like, I can't stand sour cream. Super gross for me. What else was white sauce that I can't stand? Like, Alfredo's okay. That's fine. But, like, mayo and sour cream, ugh. Consistency, smell, color, bad, 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 bad. I hate it. Yeah, I'm curious to see Ralsei come more into his own. He's definitely like kind of learning as he goes. It seems like, again, he apparently was not around people before Susie and Chris showed up. He seems very intent on keeping Chris happy, at least. Yeah, I think it makes sense they did that both normally and post Weird Root. I know for some people it's like a big thing of contention, but I think it actually is like Chris wants to do more stuff with their friends, and even if it's the Weird Root, they're like, I gotta reach out to somebody help me out with this, as opposed to, you know, regular route where it's like, I just want to do more stuff with my friends kind of stuff. I don't think they have like this big darker purpose to it like some people think, or the night or whatever, because like at least something that stands out to me about that is Toby mentioning that chapter 3 is kind of a bit of an odd one out, that, you know, it's not very plot heavy, and that you know, it kind of returns to normal with chapter 4 and stuff like that, and which is kind of weird, because I'm like, okay, if Chris just made a fountain, you'd figure that would be kind of plot heavy, but if it's not, and especially because I think it was established earlier, like, that basically the world and the fountain reflects the will of the person that made it. So if Chris made this and there's not much of a plot stuff going on with this world, then maybe that's not their intention. They're not trying to make a narrative. They're trying to, you know, do stuff with their friends. Yeah. So it could also be like, you know, they're doing stuff on their own terms. You're trying to control me, but I'm going to do this myself and you can't stop me, kind of thing. That's a perfectly logical explanation. Like, I'm trying to reassert control over my life so that maybe this won't happen again. That makes sense. Basically kind of proving to themselves, you know, I'm not totally lost to whatever this is. I can make my own decisions. Which I think, like, regardless of, you know, the route that you're taking, the whole point of Chris's character arc is them learning, I can make my own decisions, I don't need anybody holding my hand for me. Even the thing I summoned to, you know, take control of my life. And if you do a good route, then it's like, okay, they learned on their own through your own help that, hey, I don't need you to do this anymore, I can do this on my own. But if you do the weird route and start taking things totally off the rails and hurting their friends, then they're like, okay, I have to step up and take control because this is, you know, hurting people I care about. And they find the courage to do that. And yeah, they have more control over who they're with, kind of thing. Basically, trying to reassert control over the situation. Which makes sense. Basically, no, I don't think they're the Knight. I don't think that they are doing this for nefarious purposes. Defunctland video dropped. Journey to Epcot Center. Symphonic History. I need that Defunctland. Gasp. Something to watch over dinner, maybe. Whoa. We were just talking about that, and then my phone, I guess, has some YouTube alerts on it, and it's like, Defunctland video, and I'm like, Defunctland video? Gotta catch up with that. Summoned to the defunct land. Yes. And I do follow H Bomber Guy's Twitter, and he said, I'm releasing a video soon too, along with Defunct Land. We didn't plan this again. I'm like, oh boy, we're gonna get another double feature, because that would be very funny. But yeah. I don't think that Chris is evil secretly. I know it's video essay Christmas up in here. I don't think Chris is evil, actually. I think they're opening stuff for sympathetic reasons. So honestly, like, Toby just doesn't really do much with writing, like, truly evil villains. I think the closest we've come is King, and even then he was not super threatening. I don't actually think the Knight is doing this to cause the roaring or anything either. I think that's a consequence of this happening, but I don't think that's the goal, is destroy everything and then it's all in darkness. I don't think that's actually the Knight's goal. Class specs. Nice. Good old Homestucks. I have a friend and her Homestuck Tumblr tag is "Don't forget your Homestuck forever," and I'm like, yeah, that I feel like that applies to people that are Homestuck fans. I never did quite get into it the way my friends did, though. I've mostly listened to people podcast about it and explain the plot to me, and I'm like, thank you for explaining the plot to me, because I try to read Homestuck. Don't freeze, please. Don't freeze, please. Oh, it froze. Shoot. Well, at least it wasn't the whole computer. The Bluey cast got class-spected. What? How does that work? Alright, let's reopen and see what I lost. What have we lost to the Photoshop gods? Friggin' Adobe. You and your stupidness. Okay, where was I? I was on like 2, wasn't I? I don't remember. No, was it 2, 3? Was it this one? Okay, I didn't lose that much. Just a little bit. Like, after this I gotta stop and take a break. And eat a muffin because I'm getting hungry. Yeah, we can post it in the server. Gosh darn it. Photoshop. Dying on me. Being a butt. Chris is crying about it now. He's like, Photoshop, Adobe's the worst. Oh, that sucks. Honestly, I feel like it's the Homestuck fans in my life that got me into Undertale, because, you know, there's a lot of crossover around that. So I was not into Homestuck, but I had friends who were, and they would talk about Homestuck. And then all the Homestuck friends I had were big into, when Undertale first came out, they're like, oh, they were talking about Undertale a lot. And so I was like, oh, this looks interesting. I think I'll give this a try. And the rest is history. So I can thank my Homestuck fans for getting me into Undertale in the first place. Yeah, I think that's certainly possible. Might just depend on, like, the friends and how that went, because at least my friends were cool. I think they kind of got fed up with some of the hussy stuff around the same time, especially with the Kickstarter, and so I know that they were, some of my Homestuck friends are really big with the Kickstarter, and then that kind of went off the rails and all that business. Because if nothing else, I feel like Homestuck's produced some really solid fan art and fan pieces, like music and art for it's been really, really good. Same way that, like, oh good grief, the Brony fandom was a bit of a mess, but like Brony music is unironically really good. So it's probably just something to do with size. Like, you get big enough and you get, you know, really standout artists, but you also get people being stupid and weird about it. So that just might be inevitable when a fandom is big enough. And Homestuck certainly had a very big fandom. Talking about the Homestucks. Okay, wasn't the same as last time, but it was pretty close. At least in my experience, I never came across weird, bad Homestuck fans. All the Homestuck fans I know were my friends, and they were already cool, so. Really unwise adults. I guess the ones I know were the unwise adults. But regardless, still good friends. But again, I can't hate on it. One, because like I do, even if I wasn't in the fandom itself, I do find it fascinating. And two, got me into Undertale. And whoops, that's what I said. I was going to take a break and eat a muffin. You can't fight it. I don't recognize that name. But yeah. Again, I guess if you're talking enough Undertale Deltarune, you're going to bring up Homestuck in some fashion. Because there is no denying the history is there. That's just part of the DNA of it. Someone should write a song about that. But I don't recognize that name in terms of fandom. I was listening to until it finished. I listened to the podcast Homestuck Made This World, and that was a pretty good podcast. Although it was definitely coming from the perspective of somebody who was involved more with the Something Awful forums than like Tumblr. Yeah, exactly. There is fandom history there that Homestuck is kind of the older cousin to Undertale, and then Deltarune. Well, technically Deltarune came first. Oh, that sucks. That's not cool. Don't like it when that happens in fandoms. It's always such a tricky situation to navigate, too. Okay, but I'm almost done with my stretch. Yeah, some posts about Undertale fans who don't like Homestuck, like, bro, that's your brother. You're related by blood. You gotta accept that fact. It's inescapable. Alright, be right back for one more stretch and a muffin. Okay, I'm returning. My brother in Christ, you were literally born in the basement of the father of Homestuck. Yep. Chris is upset because they got sacrificed by their parents. They had a bit of a breakdown about it. And now Ralsei is trying to talk to them, but they're just like, I got sacrificed, this sucks. So that is what they are sad about. Now they're gonna get angry. They're gonna get angry. Yeah, heck, even though like I didn't read much Homestuck. Well, I did read, I guess, up to Arc or Act 6. When I was playing Undertale, I was like, what is this Lucis-looking monster here? Like, even I knew that much. Look on the bright side, Chris. They thought you were a fitting and valuable offering. Chris is like, I am not appeased by this. I'm upset. I'm having a time. I'm just having a real hard time lately. One minute you're just enjoying pie with your adopted mom, the next you've been sacrificed to a demon in a horror world. Yeah, honestly, I feel like it is important to remember that, like, Homestuck fans were a big driving force for Undertale's success back in the day. Like, the reason why I think the Kickstarter, for instance, got as much attention as it did, and therefore got a lot of resources, was, you know, Homestuck fans were like, oh, holy crap, Toby Fox, that we know from Homestuck's stuff, is making a game, and it looks pretty cool. Let's back that. And, at least the difference is, though, that, Toby's Kickstarter was significantly more successful than, the Homestuck one was, even if the Homestuck one did make more money. But in terms of, like, actual quality of product, Undertale succeeded a lot better in that area. This will be, I don't think this will be done by, like, today, but I'm hoping, if not this next coming weekend, at least sometime, like, in this week. Because, again, I've got, the shading stuff to do for Chris here, and, then a few other effects and stuff like that, so I'm getting close. It should be done by this week. Sometime this week. Yeah, Homestuck definitely gave it a kickstart. But I would say that Homestuck fans played no small part in its popularity taking off. Because there's lots of, you know, really, you know, cute, great little indie games with the same kind of aesthetic that Undertale has that just fly under the radar. People don't notice it. I know. Exactly. I know I wouldn't be here. This kind of just became my big fandom after Kingdom Hearts and Steven Universe. I think Steven Universe was my last big, like, super big fandom. And then after Kingdom Hearts 3, I was kind of like, oh, I'm sorry. I am all Undertale Deltarune now. This is probably going to keep me busy for years, which is how I usually do fandoms. They last a very, very long time for me. I don't really flit in and out very much. They are long-term stuff. Undertale is the reason I was born. Yeah, in 10 years it might make sense, actually. Once certain fans get old enough. I mean, fandom is a place to meet people, including potential partners. So you never know. You know, I know it's definitely true for like a Kingdom Hearts fans. I know some Kingdom Hearts fans that meant that way. People naming their kids Riku and Kairi. I wouldn't be surprised if we get some Frisks and Chris's and such later down the line. Oh yeah, I'm sure it's already happened. Somewhere. Somehow. Somewhere a baby exists. Breaking news. Maybe some Tobys or something. At least the names are a little hard to name people. Like, I don't think that anybody's going to name their kid Sans and Papyrus. At least I really hope not. Please don't name your kid after fonts, even if those are also skeletons. Anytime the spot when you get to Sans Johnson. Ugh. I know there's definitely kids out there named Sephiroth, but at least that actually, you know, kind of sounds like a name, a neat name. John Carcat baby. There is a Carcat baby, yes, it's true. At least I lucked out in that term. Carcat's my patron troll. I didn't get like Eridan or something like that. I'm like, yay. Thank goodness I am a Carcat person. Oh, was the John Carcat fake? Okay, that's possible. It's not going to be fake by the time I get to it. Don't give your kids very embarrassing names. They're stuck with that for their life. You can give it to your pets, though. They don't care. I'm going to name my kid Vriska. Vriska, parentheses, Vriska. It'd be really funny if, like, their first name was Vriska, and then her middle name was Vriska in parentheses. Vriska. Like, that would be the worst name, but also be very funny. Last name Johnson. Vriska Johnson. Chris is like, I hang my head in shame at that. You have to pronounce the parentheses. How do you pronounce parentheses? Do you just say parentheses, or do you have to actually, like, speak it out? Is it like, wait, Vriska, wait. Leave a message in the comments how you pronounce parentheses. Vriska open parentheses, Vriska close parentheses. That's extremely funny. New challenge, get somebody to name their baby that. Changing my last name to Longstocking Lalonde Harley. Amazing. Don't listen to them, change your name to whatever you want. No one can stalk you. You can call me Yif for short. Don't name your child Yiffany. Don't do it. You just know in the future that's going to be a popular name or something, and nobody's going to be knowing why. Or that it was ever bad. It's like somebody, you know, being named Gaylord, and that was totally fine. I'm sure there's worse fandom names out there, but it's hard to think of them right now. Like, I wouldn't even name my dog Yiffany. That's just not gonna happen. Oh, man, I ate the muffin, but I'm still hungry. I'm like Chris, just hanging my head here. Chris is past the breakdown stage and they're moving into the anger stage. Now they angy. They're so angy. He's not faceless. I need to draw his eyes in. Like, I already need to color his eyes in the mouth. I was gonna do that once I finished all the stuff with Chris. So, it's there, just not, yeah, face jump scare. Ta-da! Let's do the black first, I'm gonna add the eyes on a separate layer once we finish this layer with Chris. Angie kiss. Angie Chris. Eldritchrune turns his face on and off. Oof. Blinking him like headlights. It's scary when the eyes go out. Then you know you're in trouble. You're in trouble now, young man. Or else they turn your face off. I can't sleep. His face just lights up a room. Literally. Because he's made of fire. I think I established previously that when Ralsei sleeps, he's like, kind of collapses into a clothes pile with a little flame over it. Oh, thank you. Chris is fun to draw. I know, just in ways even like Frisk and Kara aren't. It's kind of funky. Okay. Let's see if I can't copy this over. Since I think this is about that. What are you doing? Come on. Come on. Oh, shoot. It is... I should have done this one first. This was the larger panel. What's the bigger one? Okay, there we go. It's the teenage angst, exactly. They got all those big teenage problems. When you are a teenager, your problems do feel insurmountable. They feel massive. Well, for Chris right now, they are that massive. Raid invitation. I don't have enough coins to buy more raid passes. Chris has an excuse to be mad right now. They have good reasons to be mad. Honestly, I feel like I'm asking for that for Christmas. Is like, just give me money for raid passes in Pokemon Go. Because they became more expensive. They could be considered a pretty big deal. Okay. And we'll be on page 2-5. Such a long one. It's a lot of conversations. And we got to do all this background stuff back there too. So we're going through the montage, kind of. backstory and how Chris feels about it. Oh no, Twitch, dang it! Thanks a bunch for coming to the stream. I will keep going in probably another hour and a half if I can manage it. I would like to get as much of this done as I can. Some days Twitch is like that, though. It's very annoying. I think I still... Oh, that's another thing I have to do. I have to draw, like, the little backgrounds I have in this section. So many things to worry about. This is a long one. But if we can get all of the Chris shading done today, and maybe even the eyes, that would be very cool. I don't know if we can. It would be cool if we did. At least on some other pages, there's a little bit less pictures of them. Angry Chris. Justifiably angry. Also, like, conveniently, I just happen to know how you can get a hold of a bunch of horrible eldritch monsters to destroy your home. They're just right around here. Who would have guessed? Convenience. Okay, I'm gonna stop and do my next break. I really gotta like line up the ad breaks more with what I'm drawing. What's going on with your hair there, actually, Chris? What did I do? What did we do here? I like it when fingers are grasping this way, because it feels like it's always easier to shade them like this. Otherwise, fingers are really hard to shade for some reason. I've always struggled with them. With shading a hand. Can you lend me a hand? I can't do it. I'm trying to figure out if there's any, like, content warnings I should give for this part, and I can't think of anything yet. I'm just worried there's something I'm missing. You'd be like, you should have warned for that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Also, computer, don't yell at me. I don't want you to crash again. I got those replacement RAM sticks. I gotta actually put them in sometime now. I keep forgetting. I keep being busy, mostly. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Crisp there. And we'll keep carrying on. Whew. Okay. And Ralph has his explanations. So even more. It's like, can I offer you an eldritch beast in this trying time? And or egg. Yeah, what are you doing? I offer you mortals beyond human comprehension in this trying time. Or horrors beyond human comprehension. Whatever. Ugh, man, I do not want to go back to work stuff tomorrow. Like, oh, I'm at the part of the script now that it's gonna take me a while to get through it all. And all the fight scene parts always are time consuming. But they gotta get done. Page went much faster because there wasn't much Chris on it. And we'll keep going. I think I just got a lot of the background in this part. Yeah, Rothsay looks extra creepy without his eyes though. You gotta add those in. But first, still working with Chris. Oh, shoot. Just realized. Oh, that works okay anyway. I forgot to color that part in the base. I didn't realize it. Yeah, not what I wanted. Save more often in case Photoshop decides to be mean again. Take my own advice about saving. I'm loading. Do it often. For the sake of the art. Yeah. Sometimes it's too thick on there. Okay. Once more. It's like, you look weird without your eyes. Put some eyes in your skull. Put some eyes in there. After I finish this page, I'll take my break for stretch another muffin. Ooh, thundersound. There it is. To be fair, there do need to be more remixes of thundersound. It's very fun. Forgetting about the plates down here sometimes. Oh man, I hope chat didn't stop working or something, because it's been quiet, and that would be sad. I wouldn't even know, because I'm just drawing away. It looks okay, good from my end. Oh, that's all good. Mesmerized is fun. Oh dang, did it? Oh no. I just wasn't sure if it did or not. I was hoping that was not the case, but that seems to be not the case. And we're almost done with part 2. Let me see how part 3 to go. I do actually have a big pack of crayons up in my art supplies that I haven't used yet. But if I want to use it, I do have it there. I just need to see what kind of paper is good for crayons. Oh no, I'm sorry you got sick this morning. That sucks. But I'm glad it's helping you relax. It's drawn away. Yeah, I've got all these, like, you know, traditional art supplies. I just almost never use them. But I should more often if I can. Glad it's fun to watch. And yeah, sometimes you just eat something and it's like, oh shoot, that did not agree with me. Or you just like wake up and it's like, ew, something happened and I don't know what. And you keep expecting, oh, okay, it's gonna turn something else, and no, you kind of get better. Physical texture into my work. I mean, yeah, I can certainly do traditional stuff. I just haven't done it in a while. And certainly can't stream it because I don't really have much of a good camera setup for that. Oh, that sucks. Hopefully I didn't catch anything. Ugh. Okay. I will be right back because I need to stretch and eat muffin. Yeah, I definitely don't want to get sick anymore. I got I don't know if it was a flu or cold a few weeks ago, but it sucked, and now I had that. It wasn't a few weeks ago, it was like a month ago at this point. And I got that chronic cough as a result, which is almost gone. It pops up now and then, but not as much as it did previously. But now that I realize that I've got this issue where, like, I seem to get a chronic cough after I get sick, I really want to avoid getting sick at all. Because it sucks when it's like, well, now that I'm over being sick, I get to cough for like a month. No, traditional art is fun. It's good. I should do more of it. It's just a matter of, like, all the stuff that I have time for is either work or stuff I'm trying to put out online, which is fastest to do on digital. I did some traditional works not recently. Like over the summer, I did some painting, watercolor, and acrylic, but they were specifically gifts for a friend, so I did not post them online. They were just to send to my friend as a gift. But that was kind of stressful, actually. I had done traditional media in so long, and it's like, I can't undo this, I just have to try and do it. It was fun, but it was a different kind of stressful. But I should do more. Alright, be right back for another stretch and a muffin. Yay! Hello. I return. Incorporated 5 to 6 mediums. Oh wow, that's a lot. Well, that sounds like something that would be fun to do. It forces you to just try things. It's like playing with Legos, but with art mediums. That does sound fun. Honestly, I kind of want the next, potentially last big personal project I do to be one that's traditional media based rather than digital. It's a bit ambitious, so I don't know that I can talk much about it, but it would be the kind of thing I would do after Anthrofractal, after whatever my big Eldritchrune project will be once the full game is out. Something with digital media. But since that's after whatever my big Eldritchrune project is, probably years and years from now. It's something I kind of have in the back of my brain. If I do traditional media, I'll have to try a bunch of different things and see what I can do. I need new paper cutters. I have like some old paper cutters, but I think they're a little bit blades a little dull on them. Need some better ones. Yeah, like pouring out a bunch of like media and just doing whatever I wanted seems like some kind of thing I would do as a kid. Well, thank you. And probably a long time off, but it's just something I have in my mind that, I don't know, maybe I can make it work after my Eldritchrune project. Yeah, it very well might be 15 years in the future. Which is why I say it might also be my last big project, because as I get older and older, I know I'm going to get to the point where I just won't be able to draw and produce art like I do now. Like, I'm sure I can keep going for a while, but not infinitely. So, eventually I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to have to just do art less and less. But hopefully that time is still like, 15 or 20 years off. If I am fortunate. I do like the Chris faces here. Chris is like, uh-huh. I definitely hope that we'll get, like, say, all of Eldritchrune in the next 5 years. Not sure how long it'll take for us to get, all the remaining 5 chapters, but I don't know, say like a chapter a year, right? I think that's doable. I think we can have all of it in 5 years. I hope so. And I'm sure some things will take longer than others, or take less time than others now. Like I don't know. If they're releasing 3 and 4 together next year, and they're all done, and then we have basically 3 more chapters, assuming there's 7 total, which I think there is going to be 7 total. I don't think we're going to get secret extra DLC stuff. I think Toby's plenty busy with what he's doing now. That's 3 more chapters, so 3 more years? If we do 1 chapter a year? Man. So that would be like probably like 2028, I guess. How much art do you think you need to make to be satisfied? That's the problem, is like every time I make something, I'm like, well, now I gotta make the next thing. It just kind of is an impulse. It doesn't really stop. So maybe I will keep making art until I, drop dead. It's just a matter of, if I'll just be doing stuff for myself or doing big personal projects that I share with people. But I'll probably always be making stuff. It may not be good once I get old enough, but I'll try and make stuff anyway. Kind of can't help it. I never hear that much about like animators that are really old, because unfortunately with this business, a lot of people burn out doing the art so much because you have to do so much of it. Which is why I keep thinking, oh, I should probably move to like doing supervising, so that I, you know, ease off doing it for work and I don't burn out doing it so much. But I like the drawing part. And being a supervisor is intimidating. I think I could do it, I think it's just intimidating. At least art's not like, you know, being a football player or ballerina where you have a very short window of time where you can do it. And then after that, you kind of tore your body down in order to do it. So I could, as long as I take care of my body, theoretically keep doing art well into old age. Well, probably not at the pace I do now. Else I told Chris, I want your soul, and Chris is like, ah, sure you do. Friggin' demons. They only want one thing, it's your dang soul. Of course they do. Here come the ants. Chris is not amused. Yeah, it's hard to say, like, when will you make enough to be satisfied? Because the answer is probably, like, not anytime soon. There's always something or other pops up. If we can finish all of Chris's shading today, that would be really cool, so I hope we can. Oh, nice job. Good job at finishing what you've been working on for the last 2 hours. Always feels good. What were you working on that you finished? Yep, got that. What animal do you draw? You should draw a hermit crab. Because they are cute. And they got their big, big pinchy claw. draw a hermit crab. Let's be crabby. And then show me your hermit crab when you finish drawing it. Ooh, interesting. That sounds fun, though. That sounds like a good time to draw. But yeah, you should draw a hermit crab. Or a coconut crab if you want to do something else, but I like hermit crabs. That's nice. Glad it was chill. Art should be chill whenever it can be. Enough worries in the world. Art should make you happy, regardless of what it is. Yeah, there is something definitely therapeutic about doing traditional media stuff. Feels a little less like work and more like, yeah, I'm just doing it. Well, I definitely feel like I mess up more with traditional media, and then I'm like, I can't change it. That's how it is now. The end. Goodbye. Even though I used to only work in traditional media all the time. I did not get a drawing tablet until high school. I was drawing for years and years before that. It's basically just paper. Various papers. I used to draw, like I draw all these comics now, but I'm like, you know, when I was a kid I did that too. I would just draw pages and pages and pages of comics. Hundreds of pages. Mostly original comics. I had this like long-running series, and I should draw those characters again. Like draw some old characters from childhood. That was like basically a, you know, kind of slice of life story with like this dog and Wilcox and you know, other animals living around him and stuff like that. And a lot of it was just like, you know, slice of life jokes, but then also like sometimes like this big deep lore stuff would come up with like a bad guy and all that kind of stuff, and then they resolve that and go back to the weird slice of life stuff. And I had 600 pages of those when I was a kid. No lie. Okay. Yes, it was that many. It was so many pages. Now it's pretty much an arbitrary point where I'm like, okay, I've done enough for this series. I guess I'll stop now. Oh yeah, I used to do handwritten fanfic too. I'd write it on paper first, then maybe type it up. But I have some I think was on handwritten. I never actually typed it up. Probably for the best. I like writing some stuff by hand. Actually, it's it makes me do thinkies more than typing it. So I have some stuff written that actually I've done some recent fanfic that I did on paper and never typed up because I'm like, this is just for me. In the book it stays. Open that. You know what? That's fair. Don't let a lack of technology stop you from being creative. Besides, it's a good skill to have. What if you don't have power for whatever reason? Power goes out or something. Being able to do stuff without electricity is, well, very hard for me nowadays, admittedly. It is not impossible, at least. Better if I know that it's coming so that I can prepare. And be like, okay, I can't do anything on my computer for this time. Let's do something else. Welcome back. Chris is still talking with Rouse. About this whole selling their soul business. But yeah, it also just has to help to have like a time frame of like, okay, how long am I going to be without power or electricity? Like I remember there was a recent power outage thing in my apartment, and I was like, okay, I said the power's going to come back on at 3 o'clock, so I'll go run some errands and be out of the house and do my stuff, and I'll be back by 3 o'clock so I can do my stuff when the power's back on. And I got back at 3 o'clock. Power was not on. Power would not come back on for another 2 hours. And I didn't really like that because I had plans to do stuff online and I couldn't because I didn't have any power. So I kind of putzed around and tried to figure out what else I could do. I'm like, okay, I can work on this, but what should I do with the knowledge that power can come back on at any time? So that was a little annoying. Like, if you're gonna have the power off, okay. But tell me when and for how long, so that I can plan. I'm not sure I'm supposed to take my break again. I'll probably do one more break, and then that'll be our last break before our last session. Which, I'm getting close. I'm at page 302. Just want these done. But I don't know if we really get to doing like the eyes today. Maybe. But maybe not. Is that the wrong? Okay, let's make it all shadow. Sure, whatever. Probably shaded the wrong part. Whatever. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just want to, like, make something, and it's like, okay, I have no intention of sharing this. This is just for me to make and have on my own. And that's fine. Not everything has to be shared. It's certainly fun to share things. It's often a big motivator. But it doesn't have to be everything. We're arguing a bit. Well, Rouse is trying to convince Chris. It's fine. I'll own your soul. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Chris, slightly worried about it. Basically, Chris saying, so what do you want with my soul? Rouse saying, don't worry about it. It's just a nice human-y soul. Don't worry about it. So, not exactly arguing, just more kind of negotiating. And Chris is a little bit like, that's sus. Or I'll say, that's sus. No, they wouldn't do that. They just got out of like they just got out of like, somebody tried to kill me. That's horrible. So I'm not gonna be keen on doing that themselves. But Chris is still trying to work out what Rousey wants with her soul, and Rousey's just not saying very much. She's like, no, don't worry about it. Hear me. Maybe I'll be able to get to Rousey's eyes, maybe not. I guess we'll see. Get it? We'll see, because eyes. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. Only eyes blinded by darkness can see. What do they see? Okay. I think that page is done. Excuse me. We got about 4.5 more to get through. Can we do it? We'll find out. Whew. Oh, geez, yeah, I know. I'm like, please. Stop misgendering them. This isn't hard. Good grief. I've mentioned multiple times. And I got some asks I did not respond to that were like, why are you even bothering to correct people? People can make whatever gender they want for Chris. And I'm like, one, no, they can't. And two, even if they could, it's my AU. They're they, them, and the AU. So there's really no reason to say they're he, him. Ugh, frustrating. Be like a swear jar. Make enough money to take a year off of work or something. Buy a house. It's like, okay, maybe around like chapter 1 people were, still getting used to it. I'm like, okay, this is well over like 5 years later. Please, please. Stop with that. It's not a substitute for any. It's not. People are like, Toby Fox didn't intend for Chris to have any gender. That's why you project onto them. And I'm like, how have you missed the point of this character so thoroughly? You have missed the entire point. It has been 5 years. Please. The whole point of Chris's character is that they are not a self-insert. They are their own person. It is in fact a major source of conflict that you have taken over their life. And everybody else refers to as they, them, not knowing that they are possessed by the gamers. Chris is actually evil theory. Good grief. So annoying. No, I don't think Chris is evil. I don't think anybody is evil. At least not that we know so far. I don't even think the Knight's necessarily evil. It's not how things usually roll around here. Be kind of cool, because I think, like, Toby could stand to have a villain that's, like, really, truly villainous. We haven't really gotten that yet. Even, like, Flowey being just absolutely horrible. I still wouldn't say he's evil. Yeah, I feel like Frisk and Kara are a bit muddier. I think the point with Frisk is that, like, this version, oh, you thought you were playing as a self-insert that you named, but actually you were playing as an entirely different character. I feel like that was kind of a prototype for what's going on with Chris here. In terms of, like, oh ho, you thought you were inserting yourself, but actually it was a whole nother person. Like, that is something we got at the end of the game in Undertale. Here in Deltarune, that's what it starts with. It starts with, they are not a blank slate. They're somebody, you don't get to choose anything about this character. You are just this person that already exists and already has a history. And yeah, and Frisk has their own life as well. If anything, it's like Kara is kind of the self-insert, because they're the one that you name. And again, I think the point of that is, one, to have that subversion of, oh, you were not actually playing as the self-insert, and two, to kind of tie your actions to Kara in the way of, like, you choosing to, you know, do these things, good or bad, is reflected in this character. But even then, Kara is also their own person. So, I can understand why people are kind of muddy about that with Frisk, because again, the game purposefully is like, oh ho, surprise! You thought it was X, but it was Y. But there's really no excuse for that for Chris, because again, the game starts you with, oh, you're gonna make a self-insert? You can decide all things about them? Into the trash they go! Never mind, you're playing as this character that is not you. Goodbye. So, folks really don't have an excuse. Well, and also there's people struggling with they/them pronouns in general. It's like, this is like your training wheels for people that are in real life use they/them. Please try and practice at least a little. White pens or markers? I think they're probably intended for certain media, so it depends on what you're using them with. I've never really used a white marker, unless it's like a paint marker, specifically to go over other things. What do you mean the game isn't about me? I'm the one playing it. Well, I don't think it's going to be a thing of like, Toby says you are a bad person for playing the video game because you screwed up the person's life. You're bad! Like, I do not think that's what's going on either. I think it's examining some ideas of like, okay, if you were in this position of like, you know, actually being a video game character, what would that be like? It would be pretty cool. It would also be really scary. You wouldn't be sure what's gonna happen. You'd still be your own person, but everybody's treating you a different way. That's hard and scary. Yeah. Like, I give grace. I try and give grace to people that, like, okay, if English isn't your first language and you have a language that, you know, doesn't have gender-neutral pronouns, then that's, you know, that's going to be harder to deal with. And I can understand that. So, again, I give grace in that situation. But if you, like, are saying this because, oh no, we're supposed to, it's a self-insert, we're supposed to project onto Chris. Like, no, you just are media illiterate. You're not reading this right at all. This is very, very blatant theming going on of, you know, identity and choice and all that stuff. Like, honestly, I think that the second person that's talking at the end of the Goner Maker sequence, the one who actually says your choices will now be discarded after you finish making the vessel, I think that's Chris. I think Chris is the one talking there. Mostly because I think that does tie in again to I think Chris deliberately asked to get possessed and is now dealing with the consequences of that, rather than just be like, oh, this was just kind of thrust upon me and now I'm dealing with it. Like, I think it's more interesting if they asked for this and then maybe regretted it a bit than for them to just kind of be a pawn in some bigger plot. Or at least gives them more agency in how things go. So I think the second voice talking at the end of that sequence is Chris. Because it's definitely supposed to be separate from Gaster anyway. Yeah, they have that way of talking. I think there's another line where Noelle is like, oh, Chris would say something like unknown. Like, they have a very weird formal way of talking. Yeah, exactly. I think it's less of, oh, it's Kara because we talk like them. And I think it's more that just, like, Chris talks like Kara. Like, very formal, kind of, vocabulary that's a little, outside of where they should be. Nerd. Exactly. Nerd. So I don't remember where the line was, but I think that Noelle has a line where she mentions, oh yeah, no, Chris really talks overly formal that way, don't they? So I think that it's not supposed to be, oh, Kara's secretly talking. I think it's just Chris talks like Kara. I gotta try and do this more, that formal way of talking in this AU too. Try and change up some of the vocabulary so that they sound kind of overly formal. Yeah, it's very fun. They're just a weird kid and they have kind of a weird way of talking. Will now be discarded. Unknown. Yeah, exactly. Like, why are you not talking like a high schooler? You're talking so funky. Hello, thank you so much for coming with the raid. We are trying to make progress here. With Chris choosing to sell their soul and talking about how Chris talks. But thank you so much for raiding. Oh man, I gotta actually probably stop and do a... You might have caught me right when I need to do a stretch break. My last stretch break. But I'll finish this this page and then take a stretch break and then we'll do what we can. One more. Talking about how Chris seems to talk very formally. At least that is the guess right now. They talk in a way that a high schooler probably, yeah. That basically Chris talks like Kara. Like, people are like, oh, the second person speaking at the end of the Goner Maker scene, what's this Kara because of how they talk? And I'm like, what if Chris just talks like Kara? Because I theorize that the one that's talking at the end of that sequence is Chris. Again, I think it adds that extra element of Chris deliberately sought this out, for better or worse. The Goner Maker sequence. The very first sequence in Chapter 1. Where you're making the vessel. What the crap? My ad blocker has crashed. Get out of here. I'm busy. Okay. One more stretch. This will be my last stretch for our last session. That's fun. I've never played anything in the Wild Arms series. So So many good games to try, and no time for them. Okay, I missed a spot there. But now it's stretchy time. Stretch the neck. And all that. Oh, I didn't even know they went up to 4 or 5. That's quite a few. That's quite a number. Ooh. Oh, excuse me. I had played 0 of those games. Actually, I should go ahead and open the next one while I'm stretching, because that'll save some time. Chris not happy. But they're pretty much like, okay, I'm gonna sell my soul. Fine. When in a dark world of horrors, do as they do, sell your soul. Might as well. So Ralph is excited about that. Alright, be right back for one more stretch and a bit more water. This will be our last session. Woo. Yes, snacks. Snack and stretch. Stretch and snacks. Okay. I'm just a few pages away from getting through the stuff with Chris. Can we do it? We'll find out. We have about half an hour or so. Yeah, stretching is important. Gotta do it. Do your stretches. Don't want to get all bent up out of shape. Definitely as you get older, it becomes more and more necessary. Which is annoying, but inevitable. Inevitability. Yeah. Where'd you go? There we go. We'll get to do the Chris selling their soul scene. No worries. Both important things. Let's see. Yeah, I would really like to finish all the remaining pages we have. We'll see if I'm able to. At least in terms of getting the shading done for Chris here. We still have to do the eyes and all that stuff. Yeah, that saxophone kind of jump scared me. Jump scared by a dog song. And after this, I gotta make dinner and also give Alfie's her dinner. Hopefully she eats it all okay. She needs to get better about eating her greens still. She never wants her vegetables. Answer asks them. You have spoopy music. Yeah. First time Chris has stood up in practically this entire comic. He's mostly been on the ground, wallowing in despair. Shall I give you despair? Hands over a pair. Who's gonna clean up these dishes? That scratchy noise. Ugh. I'm gonna change the nib on this again. Too scratchy. I know I mentioned that earlier, but I'll probably forget anyway. I kept like a really old pen stand for a Cintiq pen that I don't even use anymore, solely because the pen stand like contains a little grabber so that you can pull the nib out and replace it, and I haven't seen that otherwise. Where are the pen stands? The pen grabbers. Okay. Welcome back. We have just finished this page with Chris. Oh, wait, I forgot. The dishes! Look at those gosh darn dishes. Down here. Okay, there we go. Now we're done with this page, and on to 5. Ralph says, excited for soul selling time. A little contract and everything. Can't sell your soul without, you know, like, having the proper paperwork. That's all good. It'll always be there for you later. Most hellish thing imaginable. Paperwork. Bureaucracy. It's like, good thing I was raised by people who were pretty literate, but I don't know if they necessarily read all the fine print in the contract. Even in the dark world, you can't escape paperwork. Or I'll say, go do your homework. Homework, I mean contract law. Chris, read the fine print, Chris. Chris, you need to go over at the fine tooth with your lawyer, Chris. Don't sign anything without your lawyer present. I'm not even sure how they would practice law in this world. What lawyer? Exactly. And if you had your lawyer present, would you be okay with a demon lawyer? Who would you rather have as a lawyer? A demon or a vampire? I don't know why I said vampire. Are vampires good at lawyering? I don't know. Demon lawyer. Demon by day. Lawyer by night. Oh jeez, get out of here, Apple. Busy. Yeah, Phoenix Wright could probably help. He's not a demon lawyer, he's just a cool lawyer. With his cool Phoenix hair. I should play more of the Ace Attorney games. I've only played the first 3. No, he doesn't really deal with contracts. He mostly deals with murder. It's mostly all murders in this game. Oh man, that suddenly makes me want to rewatch Knives Out and Glass Onion. Good murder mysteries. And just very fun movies all around. Ew, yeah, I haven't kept up with the newest Ace Attorney games. I should try more. I did like Trials and Tribulations a lot. The 3rd one, that was good. And here they go. Yeah, I haven't played Apollo Justice either. I pretty much played the first 3 games, although I think it was the DS remasters rather than like the original versions. And I didn't play Apollo Justice or the Edgeworth game or anything like that. Did play Ghost Trick though, which is amazing. Thesis definitely would take up a lot of time. It's the kind of thing that will grab all your attention. Well, I've never actually done a thesis. I'm never in a position to do one. So I'm not sure what I would do one on if I did do a thesis. Don't recommend it? Well, dodge that bullet then, I guess. Sounds like a lot of work. Probably be the thing my dad would enjoy. He's the kind of person that does research papers as his, like, relaxing activity. Well, not necessarily relaxing, but the kind of guy who chooses to do research papers, basically. Okay, what's your title? For your thesis. Linguistic image of class conflict in the context of reactions in contemporary mass media to the Ocean Gate Titan submersible incident. Okay, that actually sounds interesting, though. Like, I would read that. Oh, in the contemporary of U.S. mass media. I would read that. That sounds interesting. Basically about, like, you know, the social media reaction to the Ocean Gate Titan incident. Because goodness knows, that was interesting. That was a big deal for a while. I kind of prefer those kinds of events to gawk at than other ones. Oh, more like the one in the news, yeah. Some very vitriolic articles. Interesting. Because like, that makes sense for it to be on social media. People would be vitriolic, but doing it, publishing it is interesting. I guess they feel okay to do that. Maybe after they were clear that, like, yeah, everybody's dead on this. It's just, it's the kind of thing where it's like, the setup is so much like, oh, this is entirely the fault of your hubris, that you can't help but kind of gawk and be like, this was entirely preventable. Oh, downright acidic. Interesting. I can definitely understand that, but it is interesting that they allow themselves to do that in a published article kind of thing. Although for a while, at least they were trying to, like, oh, we gotta actually find the sub, and eventually they were like, we're not finding the sub. The sub is gone. And yeah, Chris doesn't have that much choice here. Selling their soul is literally their best option. Mostly in the case of that sub, I feel really bad for that teenager, because, like, he didn't even want to go. It sounds like a mess. Everything I read about the Titan, I'm like, why did you put yourself in this situation? It sounds like they were kind of like, yeah, screw regulation, we're just gonna do this. And it's like, the regulations are there for the reason. They're there for a reason. This is actually extremely dangerous. Which is why I think people are responding to, like, my god, the hubris. I can't fail. I'm a billionaire. My dude. My guy. Physics doesn't care about how many dollars you have. It does not. And if you have a bunch of people that are like, hey, this is how the physics work. Oh, 60-page thesis. Oh my goodness. That is quite a read. I guess there's a lot to talk about with that, though. But hey, like, at least if you wrote 60 pages, that sounds like you were interested in the subject, which, again, I read that. It sounds interesting. The build-up. Yeah, good grief, that was such a mess. Like, even just seeing inside pictures of the thing, and I'm like, this doesn't seem like it was built very well. Why are you putting yourselves in there? Going down to depths where no human was ever meant to go. If you're gonna do that, you have to recognize the fact that, you are in danger. So many chapters of fix to finish. I'm gonna see if I can finish this dang pages in terms of, like, shading for Chris here. Again, we still have stuff left to do. But if all goes well, hopefully I can finish it this week. At least I'm probably like 80% done, I'd say. Actually, maybe like 85% done with this whole comic. And because this one is long, it's gonna be posted over 3 days. Yeah, luxury tourism for rich people. Which, like, nothing wrong with tourism, but you have to understand where you're going and what situations you're getting yourself into. Kind of like the space tourism stuff. Yeah. I don't have to worry about this actual stuff because I'm rich enough to avoid the consequences. No, you're not. Millions of dollars will not suddenly create a bunch of oxygen there for you in places where, like, there's no oxygen or pressure or whatever else you need to live. Yeah. Like, I'm sure that there are new places to discover, but I feel like the thing of it is, if you're going to discover them, you can't go into it with this attitude of, like, haha, I'm the rich man and I've discovered this place. It's like you have to go into this situation with, like, either as a scientific or a community kind of thing, because that's the only way you're gonna get anywhere with it. Alright. So I haven't drawn it yet, but the soul's gonna be here. Because they're selling their soul. As you do. Don't sell it to Ocean Gate people. And yeah, you don't have to write stuff in order. You can write stuff out of order if you want. When you're doing a fic, nobody can stop you. I've written stuff out of order before. I did that with Doc's Future Past, actually. There are scenes where I'm like, oh, I want to do this scene really bad. I'm just going to go ahead and do it. That might have caused difficulties down the line, but I still did it. And even with this, I'm like, I'm just drawing scenes that I want to out of chronological order. Like, this is, like, what, the 6th one I've done, maybe? When, chronologically, this should be 2nd. How many have I done so far? I'm trying to remember now. We've got the Sacrifice one, this one, Meeting Susie, Meeting Noelle, Meeting Lancer, Rainy Day. So yeah, I've done 6 so far. Oh no, I'm sorry. That sucks. I mean, that's an easily changeable mistake, though, especially if you're sleep deprived. That's the kind of thing that can happen. Yeah, teenagers are like, I don't need advice. I already know everything. I'm a teenager. Oh, sheesh. Deadline in hours is so stressful. I've never actually, like, struggled much with deadlines because I hate them so much that, like, I refuse to put things to the last minute. I hate it so much. I do not like putting things to the last minute. I would much rather get stuff done early to the point where, like, I get antsy if I'm not getting things done early. It's weird, I know, but, like, I despise that kind of stress. I cannot put things off. Yeah, some people, they're like, I have to have that kind of stress in order to do it, otherwise I can't get it done. But I'm the total opposite. I'm like, I hate that kind of stress so much. I will do everything I can to avoid it. I hate it. I end up giving myself more work anyway, so who knows what that helps. Yep, you can only do one kind of art at a time, usually. Man, we're almost done with this. We might be able to start it on the eyes a little bit. Probably not get too far with them, but at least a little bit. Whoop. Maybe over Christmas break when I'm hanging out with family and don't really have my computer, I'll do some scripts for more Eldritchrune stuff on paper just to have it done. Thank you, glad you're excited. I'm excited to have it done. Then I think the next one I'll do after this one will be the Sham's shop, is I think what got, if I remember the poll correctly, I think that's what got second place. I gotta check the poll again. I think that got second place, so the next one will be Sham's shop. And then, if I remember correctly, I think the Parasite one is after that, which that'll have a bunch of content warnings. Now, I'm surprised Queen Boss Battle was as low as it was on the vote poll. Yep. That's the best way to do it. Because pressuring people to be like, why isn't it done yet? Is almost never works. Again, unless it's like literally your job and it's very important to hit a certain deadline. But hopefully, if that's the case, then you've at least planned for that sort of thing. But if you're just doing it for fun, you're usually not planning like that. Which, in that case, means take as long as you need if it's for fun. Or not your job. Or it doesn't have a set deadline anyway. No beta, we die like men. We die like Chris's autonomy. Yep. It's hard not having the proofreaders and you're like, what if I miss something important? Ah! Okay. Last page. Which is kind of a half page, actually. I realized after drawing this, I'm like, wait, this is pretty much how A Deal with the Devil ended. It's the same kind of patterning going on here. I did the imagery again! So I'm gonna have to probably acknowledge that fact. It's sticking out to me, anyway. Oh yeah. Thanksgiving's coming up soon. Not exactly for me, but for a lot of people it is. Well, I will have a friend over on the weekend, so that'll be good. I am not immune to repeated symbolic imagery. I am not immune to using the same shot choice for similar story beats. Like, maybe I just like that story beat and how it was shot this way. Did you ever think about that? Well, it's more like this is the part where Chris has red eyes, which is exactly how, you know, that was portrayed in Deal with the Devil too. It was something like, front on facing the camera, bum bum, their eyes have changed color because of the deal they made. So I'm like, oh no, it's the same thing. Well, yay for the two cakes analogy. In this case, both the cakes were made by me. It's the same flavor of cake. Then again, if I know I always make the same food for myself over and over again, so I guess I am fine with it. Yeah, it's fun playing with dark subjects. It's funny because I actually think, like, Eldritchrune is going to be not necessarily less dark, but I think not nearly as cruel or mean as people seem to think it is. It's like some people seem to think it's going to have a really, like, you know, dire, everybody's going to die ending kind of thing. I don't think we're going to get that. And I get a little frustrated at theories that are like, oh, it's going to be so dark and awful, and I'm like, no, it's not. And then, like, I'll turn around and do an AU of, like, and then they sold their soul and got eaten. Ah. So, the contrast. Do as I say, not as I do, I guess. Alright, let's go back to the beginning and do eyes. Basically, I do think, like, it's gonna be darker than Undertale, but dark is not the same thing as, like, cruel or bleak or anything like that. And I don't think, or, you know, dour, edgy, yeah. I would say that I think the game is going to be kinder than a lot of people assume, is my word for it. I think it's going to be kinder. But it is fun to draw dark stuff. Especially since, like, most of what I'm doing for my job is, like, stuff for preschoolers, which means it has to be all very soft and safe and kid-friendly. Very restrictive in terms of, like, what you can show and why. So it's nice to, you know, not do that. The other stuff. Okay, we're just going back and we're tackling a few eyes. Won't be able to get to all of them, but we can make a little bit of progress before I stop for the evening. Yeah. Like, there's all these theories going around now that, oh, Chris is gonna die at the end. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's the case, you guys. I don't think anybody's gonna die at the end of Eldritchrune. Maybe Rudy, and even then, I think that's potentially up for interpretation. Depending on how you play the game, maybe he lives, maybe he dies. But I don't think any of the main characters are gonna die. This isn't Persona 3. I can see us losing Ralsei, though. I think that, like, if anything is gonna happen to a character in a bad way, it's probably gonna be the Darkters and Ralsei. And I don't even know if that's necessarily like he's gonna die so much as, like, existence is gonna change radically. Yeah, I'm not sure how that's going on with Birdley. Whether that's gonna be like he comes back to life, or he really is super dead, or he's in a coma, or what is going on with that. That'll be interesting to see how that develops in the future. Because I feel like if he is, like, dead, super dead, like, that's not something they can keep hidden forever. That's going to have major consequences. Yep, he's offering a demonic croissant. Chris is like, no, I got poisoned last time that happened. So Ross is trying to be like, nope, no poison, it's safe. Yeah, basically in terms of like, oh, bad things, I do not think that Chris, Susie, or Noelle are going to die in the game. Yeah, it really does read like a creepypasta. It definitely feels like it. It feels like, you know, Noelle's whole, you know, glitch hunting, I'm not supposed to be here doing this, it's so scary kind of way of doing things. I feel like that's the vibe it was going for. I mean, heck, it might be a thing of like, you know, all this happened and then all of a sudden Birdley is fine next chapter in Snowgrave, and I think that would really throw people for a loop too. Yeah, I like her little glitch hunting stuff. That is cool. I hope it's expanded upon more. Part of me kind of wonders if, like, part of the way that Eldritchrune is doing things is kind of a clash of mediums, so to say. Because I feel like, especially with the whole, you know, oh, stuff is fated, and, you know, you can't change the ending for anything. Your choices don't matter. Thing that's going on in the Dark World very much applies to Darkness because they are existing within, like, the medium of a written story. But we, the players, are playing the game in a different medium, a video game, where you can go off script. And I wonder if, like, there isn't, like, kind of a clash of the medium happening there in terms of, you know, engaging with the story that is written down and that you cannot change and you're just experiencing it, versus engaging with a story in which you can alter things in some form. Yeah, I have no clue how they would do it where, you know, Birdley is suddenly alive and seems to be fine. But, Birdley's like, oh, that was a weird dream. But, I think that would definitely throw people for a loop. Ross is like, what are you talking about? I'm very cuddly. Look at my cuddly sharp teeth. I'm the cuddliest of the demons. Super duper cuddly. You just want to run up and give him a big ol' hug. That would be very interesting if, like, you know, if Gaster or whatever did the Goner Maker thing, is like, oh, this got off course, I'm gonna course correct it. Like, I don't know, I guess it depends on what Gaster is trying to accomplish versus what, you know, maybe the Knight or somebody else in that position is trying to accomplish, in terms of, you know, what future are we changing, what needs to be changed, what doesn't need to be changed. Is it good or bad for things to change from how they are quote-unquote supposed to be? We still need to figure all that out. Yeah, Lancer is probably the most huggable. For he is a little bean. He's just a little bean. I also gotta go back over here and fill in all the teeth and stuff. Well, unfortunately, I think I am about done. I gotta stop and take care of some things, like, feed Alfie's, feed myself, and all that. Okay, I'll do one more page. Yeah. Yeah, it did seem to turn yellow on its own. And we're not sure how it happened. Yep, Chris is mad. They're mad because they've been betrayed by family. Okay. Chris Angie. Oh, thank you. I do hope people like it. Which maybe we'll also do the next page too. Tackle both of these. Yeah, Chris, very angry now. The kind of mood where it's like, oh, maybe I'll stick some horrors on you. Okay. Yeah, we'll do this page as well. Cool. Oh, sheesh. That would drive people nuts if that happened. That would drive people nuts. I'm like, oh, huh, what was that about? That's not how things are supposed to go. I'm gonna fix it. Oh, that would drive people insane. I kind of doubt it would happen, but it would. Oh, that would give a reaction from people. It definitely seems like there's going to be some kind of carryover in terms of consequences. I mean, at least in terms of trying the route, since you can have the twisted sword and potentially make that by abandoning a Snowgrave route. I'm very curious about how that will go. Oh, that'd be neat. That'd be neat. And yeah, that was a fun scene to do. And I gotta do all the backgrounds for these sections too. We're doing exposition. But we are making progress. Yeah, hopefully if I'm super lucky, maybe by Wednesday I can get this done. We'll see. We'll see. Just depends on how long some other parts take. But yeah, I'm gonna finish this up and then stop for now because I've got to take care of some other things. Give Alfie's her dinner. Thumbtacks paint, yeah. Honestly. I gotta fill in more stuff with Ralsei's mouth there. He's fun to do. He's fun to draw with Eldritch versions. He's all spoopy, scary. Alright, I'm doing one more stretch, and then we are gonna go ahead and sign off. And hopefully this comic will be done for later this week. That would be very cool. Because I'm ready to get it done. This is the long one, though, again. Probably 3 parts. Hopefully the next one, if I do with Sean, that'll be a shorter one. But yeah, thanks a bunch for coming to the stream, you guys, and chatting with me about all kinds of things. It's always fun to do that. I super appreciate it. And next stream will probably be more Spirit Fair on Friday again. Yeah, all these comics to catch up, and I'm trying to keep up with some fanfics now. I'm like, there's all these fanfics in the community that I haven't even read. I should read them, so I'm trying to keep up with that as well. I want to see the new Defunct Land that's out now, so always busy, busy, busy. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for now. We will tackle more of this, and if we're lucky, we'll finish it by Wednesday. If not, it'll probably be like by the weekend or something like that. So yeah, thanks a bunch for coming. Hope you guys have a great evening, and I will talk to you all later. Alrighty, goodbye.